Welcome to Northside Territory, presented by Fox One Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. I'm Sahadev Sharma with my partner Patrick Mooney. We are your Cubs beat writers over at The Athletic. And Patrick, there will be a Game 5. That was an amazing game, an amazing atmosphere. The Cubs have fought back and, forced this situation. I think to start, the way Wrigley felt, I was I was sitting next to John Greenberg in Game 3 and Andy McCullough in Game 4, and both times, like, the structure feels like it's shaking more than normal. I don't know if what's going on, but I'm feeling it a lot more. I noticed it for the first time after Game 3 of the Padres series, and I didn't know if I stood up too quickly because the game ended. I stood up and I felt like, oh, I'm losing my balance. And I thought, oh, that's just me. And then it happened again in this series multiple times. But that place is rocking and the press box is shaking. And we used to be able to count the number of times that happened on our hands. And now it's happening with regularity. The atmosphere is intense. And that was, I believe, the biggest crowd at Wrigley last night of the season, 41 plus. Talk about being into the game. Like, Wrigley faithful have taken it to another level.
Yeah, the Freddy chants
Yeah.
were a classic. I think something we'll be referencing for a long time if the Cubs can win Game 5. You're right in terms of the structure. Like, I turned to someone, I think it was in that Padres, like, you feel that, right? I was sitting next to Lamont Pope from the Tribune. And we've felt that before. I distinctly remember, like, I think it might have been the Lackey game against the Cardinals in 2015 with Schwarbombs and whatnot going off. But there had been this drought of Wrigley Field. You just hadn't felt it. The Cubs hadn't given their fans a reason to shake the building like that. And, I don't know how the Cubs do it, pulling off this electric atmosphere without pregame showing a Bob Costas interview of Pat Murphy for like an hour, which was pretty much the batting practice entertainment for the Cubs before games 1 and 2.
Can't wait to relive that on Saturday.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be a good way to like take a nap or something before the game after a long playoff stretch. But Murphy himself had acknowledged it after the game, just reading some of his quotes and seeing some of the clips of, this I think is part of Murphy's shtick, right? Of like, we got a lot of young guys, we're the underdogs. We've, our guys really, felt it today. This is going to help us. We're going to learn from that. But it's hard to walk out of that building and not feel like the crowd made a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew Boyd recognized the fans, and he really has all season long. I mean, his numbers at home have been better. Just a great performance by him. I don't want to take away from it. It is. I did feel a little moment of frustration that we don't get like the 7-8 inning starts as much anymore in the playoffs. Like, I saw him come off and I was like, man, this, like, baseball just isn't as cool anymore. But look, this is how it works now. This is you lean on your bullpen arms. It makes a lot of sense. Get Christian Yelich out, and he did a great job of that in a big moment. Like, that was a huge strikeout, keeping Milwaukee off the board. And Daniel Palencia came in and did his job again. 2 bounce back outings. That's what you wrote about. And I thought it was, spot on. Like, Matthew Boyd needed a bounce back outing for this team, obviously, to keep going. And Daniel Palencia faced the guy that hit a 3-run homer off of him in Game 2 with 2 men on. And this time, first pitch pop up. Just, like, good moments for both those guys and good stories for the season.
Yeah, you can see how the season keeps building, and then even within a series, you see the momentum shift and these characters reemerge. And yeah, you had Boyd off of Game 1, clearly disappointed, hoping he'd get a shot to make amends in game 4. After game 2, Boyd noticed how distraught Palencia was, and just said, "Bro, I'm gonna need you. We're gonna need you. Like, stay ready, keep your chin up." And Boyd's point was, like, there's no secrets anymore. Like, teams have 162 games plus of data. They have all this time to prepare and hone in on one pitcher and one matchup, and you're going to have the crowd elements, and everything's heightened and magnified, and you just have to punch back. And that is what the Cubs did. And I think, if you're sort of just tuning in, like, that is what this Cubs team's been. And I did not give them really a puncher's chance earlier this week. I was on the main Foul Territory show, and Scott Braun teed me up. He's like, "How does this happen? How do they get back into this?" And I'm like, "I don't see it happening." And I was, I think, understandably skeptical, but there is something to this team of how they respond, how they pay attention to the details, how they pick each other up. And, I think they've more than earned this shot to truly ruin the Brewers season. And there was one guy, who really came through with a big swing. And I want to hear kind of your backstory on how you've been working on your Ian Happ story.
Yeah, let's put Ian Happ under the DraftKings player spotlight. Yeah, I talked to Ian Happ. I believe it was the Monday before the playoffs started. Talked to him at Wrigley. And it was, just a simple, this is going to be a big picture story. Here's the most tenured Cub. And he's been waiting. He's the bridge between that 16 team and this current version of the Cubs. Gets a lot of heat from the fans. Hasn't had an opportunity really to provide a playoff moment to deliver for the fans. And he kind of said, you can't do that. You can't search for that. You can't chase hits. You can't go after that. That's what leads to failure. But you could tell, like, after the game last night, that it meant a lot to him to finally get that moment. And I mean, yet again, in the first inning, we're talking 2 outs, like the Cubs on the verge of squandering an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And Happ hammers a Freddy Peralta home run. He had 2 hits coming into this postseason against Freddy Peralta, and obviously he faces him a lot. I want to say it was like 30 plus plate appearances, and now he has 2 home runs in the playoffs against Freddy Peralta. The first one, meaningless, right? It was a 9-1 game, I think, at the time. And sure enough, fans were like, "Oh, of course, Ian Happ hits a home run when it doesn't matter." But this one mattered. Obviously, this one was huge. It was the only runs for about 4 or 5 innings of that game. Just, a massive swing, a massive moment for, a guy that I feel like has earned that moment, has done a lot for this team and this organization, stuck around through, a non-rebuild rebuild. And chose to stay here. He loves the city. He loves the organization. And one of the things I don't think I included this, but he told me, is like, something he learned, something he realized was he's been around a lot of veterans that have been in a lot of different places, and they kind of let him know the grass isn't always greener at other places. This is a great place to play, and like, there's not much more you can ask for than playing for the Chicago Cubs. And that resonated with Happ, and is a big reason why he stuck around and got that moment.
Yeah, you alluded to a segment of the fan base that just seems kind of irritated by Ian Happ, and I don't know if that's just kind of an online, a small online segment that may not be representative of fans everywhere. But yeah, he was kind of the face of this. Is it a rebuild? Is it not a rebuild? We're not calling this a rebuild when everyone knows it's a rebuild. And, he really found himself as a hitter after that huge sell-off at the 21 trade deadline. But throughout it, he has an amazing appreciation for Wrigley Field. I think if you kind of pay attention to some of his answers, that comes through. He's always has those lessons from John Lester, Jason Hayward, Anthony Rizzo. Like, that is certainly a thread that runs through this team, and he is the one who is bringing it. And you could just tell once that happened, it was like, oh, now the Brewers are the ones scrambling, and it's going to be really fascinating to set up here, game 5 of like, has this now shit? Like, does one swing from Happ kind of like make the Brewers feel like the ones who are totally on the ropes and the ones who has their magical season on the line and have their fans kind of breathing down their neck at American Family Field?
Yeah, let's talk about some things going right for the Cubs and some questions and everything about Game 5. First, let's hear from producer Jeremy with our Northside Territory pick.
Thanks, Sahadev. For my Northside Territory producer pick, I'm going Game 5 Yurfee. First inning runs at plus 105. The Cubs are doing most of their damage in the first frame, and the team that scores first controls the game in a raucous environment. I'll put $100 on a first inning run to win 105 on DraftKings. Sahadev and Patrick, back to you.
October baseball is here. The pressure's on, the lights are brighter, and with DraftKings Sportsbook, you're right there in the middle of every moonshot moment. DraftKings Sportsbook delivers the intensity of October with player props, live in-game betting, and odds that can change as fast as a ball flying over the fence. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Welcome back to Northside Territory, presented by Fox 1. Patrick, Game 5 on Saturday night. We don't know who's going to start for either team. That's a big question. I initially want to say Shota Imanaga when discussing that with people. A lot of people are like, you can't do that. So when I say people, I mean other media members. I haven't talked to anybody with the Cubs about it. I don't know. Like, my default is like, trust your guys. Like, he can settle in and figure it out. But maybe it's too risky. It's a Game 5, and you need to just piece things together. I would say, like, Brad Keller's stuff was down whatever day. I'm losing track of days. So Thursday, the most recent game. If you go full bullpen game, that's risky. Do you kind of just play matchups and go Colin Ray to Shota and pull Shota at the first sign of trouble? I don't know. But I think you just have the same questions when you look at the Brewers. So it's not like pitching is some huge advantage for either side right now. This is a very much a, how do you piece this together? Each manager is trying to figure that out.
Do the Cubs trust Savali a little bit here? That was a name I had heard a couple of days ago of maybe someone who could step over the course of 3 elimination games. We haven't really seen that yet. If you're a Cubs reliever, you definitely know where you stand right now. Craig Counsell has his guys, and it has worked unbelievably so. If my math is right, I think 3 elimination games, Cubs have allowed 4 runs total over 27 innings, which is kind of unbelievable considering the way this was kind of this bullpen was sort of like scotch taped together over the past several months. But look, they've gotten this far. I think obviously the clear winner in all this is the Los Angeles Dodgers, just getting to sit home and watch the Cubs and Brewers throw haymakers at each other. But the Cubs have shown a lot here in terms of like talent, smarts, guts, creativity. Like, I know you sort of think like, oh, well, Freddy Peralta's pitching, so he should just throw like 6 innings, 1 run, period. Then you just turn over to your A relievers, or like, oh, this matchup makes sense on paper, just roll through. Like, it doesn't work that way. And I think, when you mentioned Keller stuff, maybe he's fine, but I just think in general, I think that's going to be a challenge for the Cubs here, no matter who they plug in there. Of just this time of year, middle of October, like when the gap between these two teams is so small, that little extra bit of oomph, could be the difference.
Yeah, and I said this before the playoffs. The offense has generally been quiet, but I thought they were turning a corner.
Oh.
I don't know if yesterday is anything a sign of things to come, but it very much is. These things happen, suddenly. They just, everything can change, and you don't even see it coming in baseball. Whether Kyle Tucker has woken up or not, I cannot say. It looks better. The results look better. He's been getting on base much more regularly, and he hit a home run. Like, that's his first extra base hit of the postseason. And if something clicks for him, and this offense is suddenly, we haven't even said anything about Michael Busch, but he had another home run. He's kind of turned into this star, like the most feared batter in the lineup. You have guys like that kind of turning a corner or staying hot. Like, can this offense just be enough to carry them right now? And is it kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, we know this offense is talented. We know this offense is good. Did they just kind of wake up? I think about, like, there was no one moment perhaps for this group, but in 2016, it was kind of like, oh man, this offense is dead. And then Ben Zobrist has that bunt, and it leads to a huge inning in LA. The Cubs I believe, were down 2-1 in that series. We know the story after that. They go on to win the next 3, and the offense kind of wakes up and just like goes on a tear. Was yesterday kind of like a moment for Kyle Tucker to be like, oh, there's that power swing? Because if that happens, suddenly we're talking about a very different offensive group. Pete still hasn't really found his rhythm, even though he's had some big hits here and there. So you can't be too critical of him. But like, as a group, it seems like things look a little bit better, and you feel a little bit better. They probably had more opportunities to tack on there, and missed a couple home runs by mere inches. But in general, 6 runs is good. You'll take that. So, and they followed the recipe that Craig Counsell is always preaching. Put pressure on, put consistent pressure on the team. You will break through eventually. Not only did they do that in the first inning, but they kept putting pressure on, and then they eventually tacked on. And I think that it was good to also see them tack on. If you're rooting for this offense to get going, you needed it to be more than 3 runs in that game. You needed some non-first inning runs to be like, okay, there are some signs of life and guys waking up.
Happ said that before they left Milwaukee, right? We need to do a better job of not putting so much pressure on their pitchers. You saw it in those later innings. I look forward to reading your thoughts on Michael Busch in The Athletic. I know you got a piece coming there, and you're right. Even one of our editors was like, shouldn't we be writing about Michael Busch? And he gets overlooked, especially when you're hitting like leadoff. If you hit those home runs in the 9th inning, that's a little easier to kind of, in victories, it's different than some of those first inning home runs that, sort of get lost in the shuffle, but no doubt an extremely consistent presence on the team. I didn't Pete the other day say like he's been our best player
Yeah.
this year, which it was interesting to hear. And yeah, like when Tucker is getting on base like that and able to hit for power, it just changes everything. I mean, the Cubs have the most accomplished hitter on the field, and they just need him to deliver. And, you know, you can tell the way he's getting pitched, the way he's laying off pitches, some of those singles that he's getting, it seems like he's kind of on time and more in control. And yeah, I mean, if that happens, maybe Counsell has a little more breathing room, or his pitchers do, in the later innings of Game 5. Maybe you can trust a reliever or Shota for an extra batter or two, or you can make a mistake pitch here or there and not have it just kill your season.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating if this offense wakes up. I don't know what they can do against the Dodgers. The Dodgers look very imposing right now. Unsurprisingly, they kind of coast through the regular season and turn it on. Not all teams have that luxury, but we'll discuss that if we get to that. I mean, just a massive game on Saturday. I think we're all looking forward to it. Being forced to go back to Milwaukee for one more night, we'll take it. It's fun covering this team and this group. So one more game at least. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a wild one. I'm sure the American Family Field fans will be into it. It'll be hard to match that Wrigley Field atmosphere, but they brought it in the first 2 games, and it's going to be similarly wild. So we'll have more whenever this season either continues or wraps up, whatever we're talking about. Thanks so much for listening to Northside Territory presented by Fox One. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to The Athletic, where Patrick and I are on top of all things Cubs. Thanks for listening.